On today's episode of The Unwritten Rule, we have a little bit of a different show for you guys. Obviously, it's the bye week. We're going to be back Sunday to a little bit more regularly scheduled programming, if you will. We'll talk some SEC. We'll kind of start to take a look ahead at Texas A&M and do all that stuff like we kind of normally do for Monday's show. So we'll do that for you guys for Monday. But for today, we thought we'd bring you a little bye week interview. So we talked to our good friend of the program, Ben Sternberg, of course, of Mizzou men's basketball fame. Talked with him. Payton and Kenny did just kind of chatted about, of course, being back at Mizzou. He was there with Kobe Brown and Sean East for the Vandy game. So Payton and Kenny kind of caught up with him about that, how he's been doing. He's taken the Sternberg scoop kind of global. So we talked about, kind of his ventures. Obviously, we talked some Mizzou hoops with him, of course, as well. Kind of what he's looking forward. He's still very plugged in with the program. So kind of what he's been looking at, what he's looking forward to with the season upcoming for the Tigers, obviously with a lot of big expectations of improvement there. So yeah, great conversation. Always great to catch up with Benny. So yeah, we did that for you guys for this Friday. And then, like I said, Monday we'll be back to kind of normal programming. We'll do maybe a little recap of the SEC with Mizzou not playing, kind of look at ahead of schedule, how we're kind of feeling about some of the future opponents now that they've played a few games. Going to kind of gauge all that, and then obviously start to kind of look ahead toward A&M on the road. Big road game for Mizzou coming up that next week. So we'll do that on Monday. But for now, enjoy a good interview with Ben Sternberg. And then Payton and Kenny, of course, did quick hits as well, which I had mine thrown in there as well. So yeah, good show. Great interview with Benny. Love talking to him as always. Enjoy it. The Unwritten Rule starts right now.
Marcel, where are you going with that disc? You are not putting that on again. Marcel, okay, if you press that button, you are in very, very big trouble.
Attention. Everybody stop what you're doing. It's time for The Unwritten Rule, a Mizzou sports podcast brought to you by the Believe Network, alongside Peyton Haverman and Kenny Van Doren. Here is your host, Jack Knowlton.
Welcome back to The Unwritten Rule. Today is Friday, September 27th. And if you're watching on the YouTube, it looks a little different right now. There's a familiar face in the middle, but he's not matched up with his own name. It does say Kenny underneath him, but he is Ben Sternberg. You guys know him from his time with Mizzou basketball. You've probably followed him past his career playing at Mizzou. But it's good to have you back on, Benny. And I think a good place to start before we get into all the nitty-gritty stuff is that there is a guy that you are friends with that we are very, we know him well. And we like to we like to talk about him a lot because he's a part of the show, even though he doesn't even know it. And I'm going to play you the sound because I don't know if you know about this. I think we've talked about it before.
I like no capping. He's the main bird.
So that is from a Sternberg scoop.
Yes,
Sean East, your former teammate, your close friend. You, Sean, and Kobe made your return back to Mizzou. Can you tell us just about that? Walk us through your return to Columbia.
Man, it was good to be back and see Coach Gates and the guys that I knew, but it was also really good to see the fans as well as some of the players that I haven't really met yet or got to know. So I've known a lot of the freshmen, just staying in touch with them and stuff like that, making sure they're good. But it was cool to see them, and I got to see a little practice. So it was really good. And then obviously I went to the football game with Kobe and Sean, and it was a great game to go to. Even though we didn't play good, you always want those overtime games, but to see the fans and the people of Columbia was good too.
So I take it, since you were around the neighborhood, I'm sure you checked in with Coach Gates and everything. How's he doing? How's just kind of what's the vibe around the program right now, you think?
Man, Coach Gates is always good. He doesn't, need too much to be happy. But I talk to him off when I'm not there too. I'll call him and we'll text. Right. Just because our relationship, it's been like that since I've been at Cleveland State. But it was a good vibe in there. Everybody was playing hard, but everybody was happy and it looked like they were having fun too, and that makes me happy. So.
You talked about knowing some of those guys that are on the team now. It is weird to say, though, that only one of those guys you've played with at Mizzou But there's another guy on that team that you played with at Cleveland State. And we talked about Jeremy Sanchez before, who's in a walk-on role with this team and a leader as well. I mean, can you just talk about just how much change has kind of happened and just where this kind of goes forward? Because you were part of a group that was very different from the year before.
Yeah, definitely. It was good to see Sanchez in action with that Mizzou jersey on. I'm very happy. I was with him the other day, and I kept telling him how happy I was that he was here. And then obviously it was good seeing, Aiden Shaw too, because, I try to be his vet. When I was there, he was a freshman, and I was, a grad. So I kind of, knew the ropes and try to, just be a good vet and be a good leader for him. But yeah, I mean, like I said, everybody in there was happy, and it was when I went in there. Is actually there's other people in there. Like got to see Brad Luce there too, who was I don't know. You guys watched the TBT, right? The Show Me. He was my coach there, so it was good to see everybody. But yeah, I mean, I'm excited to see what happens.
And I mean, you mentioned it back at the football game with Sean and Kobe. I mean, there was that funny clip of Sean on the overtime touchdown getting super hyped. Kobe, obviously, with the Clippers. I believe Sean East is still with the Lakers. Correct me if I'm wrong. Yeah. How is that to kind of hang out with those two guys that are trying to make their way into the NBA, and just how are Kobe and Sean doing?
I mean, they're doing good. It wouldn't be any different if they weren't in the NBA. If they were playing pro or working a regular job, I'd just be as close with them as they are now. Mm-hmm. But it's cool. It's cool to hear about experiences they go through. Obviously, Kobe has a year in the NBA under his belt. So, and I was with him for a good amount of that journey. I was in LA for, multiple different times, and I was staying with him, and just to see his approach change from the game, from college to the NBA now is amazing. And, he really worked on his body this summer. He was locked in the gym. And obviously, Sean East is, a sicko when it comes to the gym. Nothing has changed. Even when I was at Missouri, he was up, 5 a.m. before the games and stuff. And practice every day. It didn't matter. But I'm excited to see what happens with Sean. I know he's on a pretend deal with the Lakers, but I believe in him. I know he can. I think he's got a guarantee with the G League for a whole year in South Bay. But I want him to be on the Lakers. It was cool to see him in summer league. Obviously Kobe, and I had a bunch of other friends play. Mo was in the summer league too, but a bunch of other my friends were playing in the summer league, so it was cool to see that. But I'm excited for both of them.
Hey, you brought up Mo there. I mean, what about some other guys that you've played with in your career? I know Trey attempted something in the pros, and now he's back with Mizzou on staff, which was a really cool thing to see. We saw like posts of it. We're like, is he back? On the staff doing something? But even other guys, I know. I mean, overseas, DeAndre Golston was having an amazing season. I mean, have you kept up with anyone else?
Yeah, of course. I mean, I'm close with all of them. Dre, I just got off the phone with Dre earlier today. He's one of my closest friends, and Nick too. Noah just had 25 points in this game. Dre's in a great league in France, and all my dogs are doing good, so it's really good to see. But if Dre Golston doesn't get a shot in the NBA next year, then something's got to be going on for sure, because he's been hooping.
And I know. We saw it on you got the shirt on now, and we saw it we saw it at the football game. You got the Sternberg scoop on now. I mean, what's kind of been going on in your world lately? And I mean, the Sternberg scoop, I mean, how's that coming along?
It's great. I mean, I remember when we talked about it about a year ago, it was kind of still an idea, and now I'm traveling all over the country getting all these awesome interviews. I got one dropping on Tuesday. But yeah, man, it's definitely a blessing, and I'm having a lot of fun with it. It's doing pretty well. I mean, me and Kobe's video almost got 20K views, and that was my second video, so it was really good to see that and the fan interaction. I definitely would love for all of Columbia, not just Columbia, but everybody who watches it to subscribe to it, because it's just getting started. I mean, I'm on episode 4, and I can't wait to see what's in store. But I got a lot of good guests coming up. And I was just in Mizzou, so I might have gotten somebody there. So we'll see. But I'm having a lot of fun with it, and I got to get you guys a shirt, man.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I was I saw you wearing the shirt on the sidelines, and I was like, oh my gosh, so that is a sick shirt with the Nintendo
Appreciate you,
almost
man.
look. But yeah, I mean, for those that don't even that probably didn't get the chance to listen to Sternberg Scoop, I mean, Benny gave, he pulled back the curtain. We didn't know much about Sean East. We didn't know he had like this kind of twang in his voice, just kind of a cool style about him. And we just thought he was just kind of a quiet guy that just played basketball. But there's just a lot that we learned that season. I mean, that 2022-2023 season was one of the best
Super fun,
ones
man.
like in Mizzou
Yeah.
history. And
Mhm.
but you talked about the spirits being high, a new kind of group of guys coming in. The other guys graduated, some moved on. This was a question that kind of came up in the last couple months in our comments, and it was talking about last season didn't go well, and I think that was just didn't go the way that a lot of people wanted. But I mean, when you look at recruits, I mean, how does Dennis keep that mission alive with guys that might be a little bit hesitant, not seeing the results, and just telling them that the results will come. We're going to
Yeah.
get back to where we want to be.
Yeah, I mean, Coach Gates he's authentic. He's himself. And, we have a culture at Mizzou that, I feel like everybody should want to play for because it's not just basketball. It's 5% basketball, 95% family, but once we get on the lines, we go at it. But once it's off the court, everybody's together. And I'm very blessed to have been a part of Coach Gates' culture for, at Mizzou and even at Cleveland State. I saw what he was trying to do. And, my role on the team obviously was to push that as much as I can. But if you're a recruit and you really come to a practice and you get to be around the guys, I mean, who wouldn't want to come here? Columbia's, I love Columbia too. That's just a cherry on top of the cake. But, it's such a fun time to be there. Just with the guys, and it's an SEC too, you know what I'm saying? So you get to play the best and, not just in the games, but in practice too. So.
And I know I remember you saying you were close with Ant, Trent, and Jordan. Jordan obviously went closer to home back in South Carolina, but Ant and Trent are back. I mean, they're kind of, I'm sure, expecting to take a big jump in year two. I know Trent Burns mentioned Ant as someone that he's like super close with, so they're helping shepherd along the freshmen already, just kind of speaking to that culture. I mean, what are you kind of expecting out of some of those guys that you're close with at Mizzou still?
Yeah, I mean, now that those guys got like a year under their belt and, they've had that experience, they can just push on that leadership. They've had a year not just playing in the SEC, but a part of that culture. So, they know what it is and, they know when somebody might be BSing or not taking it serious. So having guys like that, especially like Ant, because he's really good and, he really, got good minutes last year. And same with Trent. I saw Trent, by the way, in practice the other day. He was cooking, so I'm really excited to see that. But from me getting older, and this is going to be my second year not playing there, it makes me feel good to see that the younger guys that I wasn't even there with, pushing that culture towards the freshmen and the new transfers. And yeah, I mean, I can't wait for the season for real.
You talk about culture. I mean, last year Jackson Francois, I mean, he kind of brought that with him after you left. I know he's gone now. My question was, I mean, have you had a chance to talk to him since he's departed for Arizona with his mom?
Yeah, of course. He was there for Vegas in summer league, and I got to spend a lot of time with him. And we'll text here and there. That at the end of the day, that was my little brother. So, I know he followed my lead, and I try to be the best leader I could towards him. And I'm excited to see. I loved Arizona growing up, so I'm really happy for him. And hopefully, he brings somewhat of that culture to Arizona.
And I know you mentioned like being in Vegas there, like the G League and everything this summer. I mean, did Sean East ever like maybe clue you in on like what it was like to share the floor with Bronny a little bit at all? I'm just curious how that kind of went with.
Yeah, of course. I talked to him and Mo about it because Bronny's kind of still like this mysterious dude. Like nobody really knows who he is. But yeah, I mean, they said he was just quiet. It was a hard worker for real, which I could kind of tell. But I'll give you guys a little funny story. Growing up, when LeBron was in Cleveland, my dad, still to this day, my dad is a caterer, and my dad actually catered some of Bronny's birthday parties growing up. So it's cool to see Bronny in the NBA now, and it makes me feel old. So.
We're all connected somehow too. That's just crazy, like how you have those stories. I want to talk about Sternberg Scoop again. I was just thinking about this. you said you've had Kobe on. You might have someone in the works from Mizzou that recently, and you don't have to no disclosure on who it is. We want that to be a surprise. But who's like the white whale? I mean, who do you want to get on the podcast or just on your show sooner than later?
Man, James Harden. I would love to get James Harden on the show. But yeah, my number one, my sister's sitting next to me. She can answer. My number one that I want, my dream guest is Adam Sandler. I would love to get Adam Sandler on the show. But when I get the Sandman on the show, that's when I know I made it. But I think right now my most realistic one I think is James Harden. I really want to get that one. So.
And any hints maybe towards who the Mizzou guest might be? And you don't have to say it outright, but any hints?
What's a good hint? I don't know. I don't really know a hint without giving away. But if you guys could honestly probably guess who it is, to be honest.
Dennis Gates.
I have some ideas.
Right.
Yeah. Is it just straight up
on the
Dennis?
basketball program?
Yeah.
It's someone with basketball. Yep, it's someone with basketball.
Okay. Looking forward to it. I mean, let us know where they can find it as well. We'll put it in our description like usual, but let the people know where they can find you.
Yeah, I'm still Benny Buckets for now. If you search up Benny Buckets or Sternberg Scoop, and I think even if you search my name up on YouTube or Google, it'll pop up. But a lot in store, still a lot in store. And I see you guys doing your thing too. I got to get you guys these shirts. But yeah, definitely subscribe to the Scoop. It's just getting started for sure.
Before we let you go, Benny, we've done this the last couple times. We've asked you about it, but what are you listening to right now? What are you watching? What do the people have to know about?
I'm definitely listening to that new Future album that just dropped. It was fire. And me and my sister just found a song today. Little Afro beat song. It was good vibes. I don't know what it's called, but I'm listening to a lot of Future. I'm listening to my boy Willie P still. Drake, of course. But what am I watching? Actually, I'm watching The Office. I never really watched The Office before, but my boy Roy put me on to. He kept asking me to watch it, so I was like, all right. And it's actually pretty funny. So right now I'm watching The Office, but nothing else really. What about you guys?
Watching, I just started watching because I've seen so many clips on it over the years, and I finally started watching The Sopranos. I don't know if you've ever watched that.
Oh yeah, I watched it in Mizzou actually. I watched that.
Yeah,
in Mizzou. I love that show. Coach Conady, the weight trainer, he loves that. Yeah, he loves Sopranos. So shout out, Coach. But yeah, Sopranos is fire for sure.
Yeah, no. Listening, not really a whole ton new right now. Not the biggest music guy, but yeah, watching. I just started watching The Sopranos.
It's fire. It's fire.
It's really good so far.
Favorite show. And Tony Soprano is like that's like the perfect role for an actor ever. Like, that's like he nailed it on the head with that. Like, it's so authentic to me. But as it gets more, you're gonna like it more. What about you, Jack?
I mean, a little bit different for me. I mean, I'm kind of like a Marvel nerd, so I've gotten into Daredevil, which is like the old like Netflix show from a couple of years ago, because it's like old Marvel. It's not really. I mean, it's more like they're beating each other up, and it's not really just about these like storylines. So I kind of like that. Listening wise, it might be like a chalk answer. I gotten into Noah Khan recently, which I think a lot of people have listened to him over the last kind of year and a half. So kind of getting into that. He has some just some pretty fun songs about like the Northeast, and I love the Northeast. So
yeah,
that's what I've been leaning into.
Nice.
Awesome. Well, Benny, thanks again for joining us. We'll probably have you on at some point during this basketball season. Just last thing from you, just predictions on where you think what's the ceiling for this team?
Man, of course I'm gonna be biased. I want us to win the whole thing. You know, I think this team could be really good. Honestly, you know, from what I've seen, the chemistry. You know, they already got a really good chemistry, and they got some good players. You know, Coach Gage is a demon when it comes to the portal and recruiting. So, in Columbia, you know, they deserve a good team. So, I'm really excited to see what happens. But man, I want them to win the SEC, and I want them to win the whole thing. So that's my prediction.
It's a good prediction. I know a lot of people will be happy to hear that one. Benny, thank you again. It's always a pleasure to have you on. And anyone that's listening, go find the Sternberg Scoop. Just search Benny's name. Find him on YouTube. Find him on Twitter, Instagram as well. And give him a subscription. Give him a sub. Give him some likes. You'll learn a lot. You'll learn a lot. That we learned a lot, and we still use it to this day from the original Sternberg scoop. So thanks again, Benny, and we'll see you soon.
Appreciate you, man.
Okay, quick hits time. Was that a good Jack impression, Kenny?
Very good.
Jerseys of the week. Kenny, who's your jersey?
I got 2 jerseys of the week, 2 former Tigers, one that spent a little bit more time with Mizzou, even put Mizzou on his nameplate for his final game at Memorial Stadium. That's Darius Robinson and Mekhi Wingo. Darius Robinson, of course, with the Cardinals of Arizona, and he's not playing right now. He's still out with an injury at the start of the season, but very cool that he did a jersey swap with former Mizzou Tiger, former LSU Tiger, Mekhi Wingo, who is with the Detroit Lions. Mekhi Wingo said, "Our dreams became a reality at Darius Robinson." D-Rob replied, "My brother, words can't capture the effort that went into making this picture a reality. I'm always proud of you, love you." It's always cool to me when you see this kind of stuff because fan bases, I think there were some people that were probably a little bit upset with Mekhi Wingo leaving after his freshman season, especially after being on the SEC freshman team. But these players, they still care about each other. And that's always a cool thing to see, even when they get to the NFL, past their college careers, how much those friendships stick around. And the one thing that I just could not get over from this photo, because I looked it up earlier because I wanted to make sure I got the year Mekhi Wingo was on the SEC freshman team correct, is that Mekhi Wingo is 21 years old. I turned 24 when this photo was taken. I just can't wrap my head around that Mekhi Wingo, I'm not that older than Mekhi Wingo.
Yeah, Mekhi is super young. Also, I mean, I don't know if it's just because I know like Mekhi is a bit more undersized for a D tackle, but my God, Darius Robinson is a big, big dude. I think I needed to see this image to really put it into perspective, but no, it's cool. I really didn't hate Mekhi Wingo like a lot of Mizzou fans did for leaving. I mean, it's just kind of the nature of the beast at this point in it, with NIL and everything, as we'll get into in a couple seconds here. But cool for these two. Cool to see just 2 Tigers, essentially. I mean, you can still kind of claim Mekhi Wingo, and I mean, even if you don't, LSU is the Tigers. So it's a cool photo.
It's even like weirder to think because Mekhi Wingo went from Mizzou to LSU, and he didn't have Blake Baker in either of those times. Like he was just a Blake Baker sandwich almost. He never had Blake Baker as a coach. Isn't that weird to think? Is that just me?
Yeah, because his DC was Steve Wilkes, wasn't it? So Blake Baker was Blake Baker on? He wasn't even on staff.
He was at LSU and then Miami.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
They just they played almost like LSU Mizzou Tiger tag, if you will.
Exactly.
Moving on, my jersey of the week. Gonna keep an eye looking out to the future for Missouri's opponents. It's a bye week this week. They got time to rest up. But concerning Missouri's next opponent, Texas A&M, this is from Tex Ags on X. And during the SEC teleconference, Texas A&M head coach Mike Elko said that quarterback Connor Wegman is taking reps at practice this week and that the Aggies hope to have him available on Saturday. It's been Marcel Reed for the Aggies the last couple of weeks, but maybe will be Wegman against Arkansas. It looks exceedingly likely that Missouri is going to be facing Wegman. I think that's kind of a welcome reprieve at a certain point. Not that I think Wegman is bad, but I'm so tired of between Castellanos and Pavia. I'm over the dual threat thing. I'd really like to see a guy that that has to beat Missouri with his arm.
Peyton, I don't know if you've ever dealt with the SEC teleconferences. It's still like, to me, it's still kind of crazy that still happens, but it is very crucial for teams that don't get to talk to these coaches, talk to the players late into the week. So this is like, pretty big news to hear. There's always like a couple guys. I don't remember their names anymore because it's been like 2 years since I've done this, but they always ask a question to every single coach. Like no matter if like there's a guy in Arkansas who asks a question to Eli Drinkwitz every single week, even if Arkansas is not playing Mizzou that week. It's just one of those old things that I'm glad they keep it going, but it's also just kind of a tough thing to listen to because you're just listening to coaches talk through like secondary phones. It sounds really old.
Yeah, no, the teleconference thing is funny. I remember you had to talk to Clark Lee for Vanderbilt week, didn't you? through the
Yeah,
teleconference?
yeah, I mentioned it before that I've talked to him once,
Mhm.
and it was like, I mean, he was like one of the nicest guys in the world. Like, I think he addressed me in the response, which you don't really see much from coaches, especially on the college level. So that was really cool to see. But I mean, I've asked you like questions before on that. I think I asked questions to someone else at one point, but yeah, it's just a cool thing. You get to talk to all the coaches just all at once.
Definitely seems like a Clark Lee thing to do. But moving on to Knowlton's jersey of the week. Knowlton not here, by the way. He's busy doing work things. Jersey of the week is going to go to quarterback, UNLV former quarterback now, Matthew Sluka, the Holy Cross transfer that was helping lead UNLV to a magical start with wins over Houston and Kansas. They were 3-0. They're looking like they could be the G5 representative in the playoff. But it's one of the biggest stories in sports right now. He announced on Twitter, X, formerly known as Twitter, that he's going to be sitting out the rest of this season for UNLV over, he called it, I have to pull up what he called it. It was certain like promises that weren't kept essentially, but it all has to boil down really to NIL. He said, based on certain representations that were made to me, which were not upheld after I unrolled. So despite discussions, it became clear that these commitments would not be fulfilled in the future. I wish my teammates the best of luck this season and hope for the continued success of the program. Pretty much every national reporter is reporting that it came down to Sluka not getting NIL funds that were promised to him. It's a very big black eye on what has been a really cool season for Barry Odom and UNLV. Tough for Barry Odom, like, to kind of have to rally from this so quickly. I mean, they have a game against Fresno State this weekend, and they're not going to have their quarterback. So just a bizarre turn of events. I mean, and someone put it best. I mean, like, who do you complain to in this instance? Like, you can't go to the NCAA and be like, they promised me X amount of money. They only gave me X amount of money, because that's pay to play, I believe, which violates the rules. And it's just, I mean, Elijah Drinkwitz talked about it. Like, he was asked about it just like in his kind of rounds through the press this week. He said it's just kind of a result from just the lack of guardrails, it's the Wild West basically with NIL right now. And this is a byproduct of that.
Yeah, if you don't have things in writing, no matter what you're doing, it is very hard to get what you say that you are. Promised. If you're promised $100,000 and that's not in writing in some way, in some form or fashion, I just don't know. You know, it's just one of those things that happens in everything, and now it's happening in what a lot of people see as one of the most prominent sports in all of North America and in the world. So I think you're looking at that. Sorry about any noises you might have just heard, but that's just something that just is going to keep happening. And I think there has to be more, like what you said, Payton, those guardrails in college football, so this doesn't keep happening.
Yeah, it's just total anarchy right now. I know Drinkwitz also said, like, he kind of hopes that, like, this NCAA settlement that's coming kind of provides more clarity, but it's a total mess, and it's a bummer for UNLV. It's a bummer for Sluka, because I'm sure he didn't want it to come to this. But that's just what it is right now, and now UNLV is going to have to rally rather quickly. But moving on.
I like no capping. He's the main bird.
From Ben Sternberg to Shawnee's main bird of the week.
Lucky us. I mean, who could say that they did that in 1 week?
No kidding.
No one else. I think it's just
literally
us.
No one else. Yeah.
No one else. Probably no one else ever. So
why are we talking about what this is?
So this is really fun. This is a fun one. This is a Cardinals home run post of Jordan Walker from last Saturday, the same day as the Mizzou Vanderbilt football game. And the caption reads, Walker hits one through the uprights. The Cardinals have had some fun in the past. One thing that is like really stood out to me, I think they did hot singles in your area in all caps one time when the Cardinals hit like 4 singles in a row and scored a bunch of runs. So sometimes they'll branch off and do stuff like that. This one kind of felt like a jab, though, at the Mizzou Vanderbilt game with the plethora of missed field goals.
Right, that's a good one, St. Louis Cardinals. It's almost as good as your magic number to the postseason. So wait, was this posted like during the game or like right
Right, like right
after?
after the game,
Oh,
around
so
that
maybe it's
time.
poking fun at the Vanderbilt miss. Who knows? But or maybe it is all of the misses. But unfortunate that it's Jordan Walker. That sucks.
He barely got it over the wall.
Well, I think he'll take anything he can get right now.
All right, Payton, what's your main bird of the week?
My main bird of the week is going to be Eli Drinkwitz. The relation to a bird here is that he mentions the Georgia and Alabama game in this clip in question. Former Georgia defensive tackle Jalen Carter is, of course, now a Philadelphia Eagle. The clip
I'm gonna
here
butt
is
in here. No, I'm gonna butt in here. You guys gave me so much crap for choosing an Auburn Tiger for my Tigers in the Wild, and then we do stuff like
correct.
this. I just don't think that's fair. I think people should go in the comments and go after you after I was gone after for my
Kenny,
Auburn Tiger.
I totally respect that opinion. Here's another one. It's on the Paul Feinbaum show. Paul Feinbaum covers the SEC. Auburn's in the SEC. War damn Eagle.
There we go.
But Eli Drinkwitz basically just had this insane clip of him talking about his bye-week routine. He went through how on Saturday he's not really going to have the day off because he's got to go to his daughter's like athletic events. He's got his daughter's not athletic birthday parties, just birthday parties in the afternoon. And the best part of this story was that he said he had to make sure they were wrapped up by 6:30 because he wanted to watch the Georgia-Alabama game. And he also called his wife the director of family operations. This dude is locked in right now, okay? If you think he's not focused on the task at hand, he is calling his wife the director of family operations. So that's Drinkwitz just kind of having his media personality shine through. The dude just kind of aces the media at this point when he's not just saying like, the great state of Massachusetts.
You could also say that he played Auburn 2 seasons ago, and that kind of contributes to that the 21st loss down there on the ticker.
Missouri played Auburn?
Yeah, I'm just still
When
thinking
was
about
that?
this. Okay. But yeah, this is a lot of fun. I like this. I remember Drinkwitz talked about once when during a bye week or before the bowl game back in 2022, he was talking about going to like his daughter's softball games in Columbia or just something sporting event. And someone asked like, do you like coach or anything like that? And he was like, no, I'm just a spectator. I'm a dad at those events. And that was just a cool thing to see because he probably, like a lot of parents, they want to help or coach their teams. He was just there to root on his daughter, and that was a fun thing to see as well. So he's still doing that. We know his kids have gone through all this, the changes in his career. So it's always good to know that he is always family oriented as well.
No, definitely. I mean, he talks all the time about his family when he's ever asked about it. So just a fun little thing. I wonder what her reaction was when he called her the director of family operations.
It's like when you see like a recruiting writer, it says like new 5 stars entered the fold and they post a photo of their newborn. It's just like one of those things. They always have to have a tie in to their actual
The
occupation.
hustle never ends, Kenny.
That's true. What is Jack's main bird of the week?
Main bird of the week for Jack is going to be Theo Weiss in particular because he went to Allen High School. Allen is the Eagles. But Tyler Stevens and Theo Weiss went into the Mizzou Student Center and yelled out, who's coming to the homecoming game? Then gave an MIZ before leaving. So just a fun little way to, I don't even know because they don't need to sell tickets. It's a sellout. So just interacting with the fan base. Fun little way to do it. Just that's little thing.
I think it's to get the students to go, make sure all the students are going early game.
Fair.
I think everyone would go anyways. It's homecoming. It's against Auburn. It's an SEC opponent. It's not like they're playing North Texas like a couple seasons ago.
Yeah, that would be silly.
I just also think it's funny because sometimes when they do these, they don't always choose like a premier player, and they got Theo Weiss to do it. And no offense, like Tyler Stevens. I mean, he's not getting like the most yards every single game. Still gets his downs. Still gets his plays. We don't always see a guy like Theo Weiss getting a part of this. But I want to know where this video is going as well. There has to be a Mizzou end because there is a guy recording it.
Yeah, creative team recording it. So I'm sure we'll see some sort of some sort of thing. Hold on, wait. There's a follow-up tweet. So these tweets come from Joey Van Zoomerman. And there's a follow-up that says Christian Williams, Nate Noel, and a few others joined the campaign for the homecoming blood drive. Oh, and Joey points it out. Missed opportunity to not have Daniel Blood on the front lines of that effort. So maybe a little bit of a blood drive. I think that might be what it is. How about that?
Unfortunately, you would not catch me there. But maybe one day I'll do that. But I think look at Christian Williams. If you're watching on the YouTube, even go on Twitter and find Joey's post about this. He is just an electric factory. Look at him just smiling. I'd never seen this guy without a smile on his face. He's wearing his sunglasses. He's always been a funny guy.
Definitely. Speaking of Nate Noel, best thing I learned this week is going to go to the Tigers' electric factory of a running back. Nate Noel was SEC Offensive Player of the Week for Week 4 after his 199-yard game against Vanderbilt. I was a little surprised that he won the award. Not that he didn't have an excellent game. I just figured someone else probably had another crazy game out there. But yeah, Nate Noel, 199 yards. Second straight week, Missouri got a Player of the Week honor.
Yeah, I keep thinking about this, especially after our Vanderbilt recap, is that I remember going into the season, I was like, there shouldn't be too many concerns at the running back position, but it's okay not to just assume that there's going to be another Tyler Beatty, another Cody Schrader setting these records. And maybe Nate Noel doesn't get to that mark because he is splitting, not evenly, but he's still splitting some time with Marcus Carroll. But just Curtis Looper and this offensive staff, I mean, they just continue to churn out production in the running game. And Nate Noel is just the next one for that. And then we've mentioned it earlier in the season, who's going to be that next guy, seeing other guys take a step forward from the youth and the sophomores and the freshmen. But even they're going to hit the transfer portal again, most likely, just to see who's out there. And it seems like they're just going to keep doing this every single year.
Yeah, the rushing attack has never been an issue. I think maybe 2022 was the only time they really didn't have a great running game. And I mean, nothing was good in 2022. That was a bad team that limped its way to 6 wins. But hey, man, Nate Noel seems to be another hit out of the portal for them. What's the best thing you learned this week, Kenny?
Best thing I learned this week is that we have a kickoff time for the Texas A&M game. It's at 11 a.m. and it'll be on ABC. So this is a big one. This is going to jump on your TV right after you finish college game day in the morning. Very cool to see. I don't remember the last time. I think the Auburn game might have been this back in 2022. Correct me
It was
if I'm wrong,
ESPN.
Payton.
It was
ESPN. Okay, yeah, I can remember that in the
Game that
ticker.
never
But you don't
happened.
see this very often for Mizzou. So this is probably something exciting. It's on the road, so a lot of people probably don't have to worry about their tailgates for Mizzou. But this is always just one of those games that everyone has their eyes on.
Yeah, no, this is a big one. I mean, if you think about it, really, this is probably your most difficult game outside of Alabama that's remaining. Maybe you can make the argument for South Carolina, but I don't. What?
No, I just go ahead, keep going.
Maybe you can make the argument for South Carolina, but I mean, if you win this game, you're gonna probably be in the driver's seat to be picked to go 11-1, and that will. You'd be talking about whether you're at worst, you'd be talking about whether you're hosting a playoff game, not if you're in it. So I think that Drinkwitz is going to know, like, you might be able to essentially punch your ticket. Like, obviously you got to handle all the other teams that you should beat, but in terms of like swing games and like at games you're expected to win, this could be a game that like kind of punches your ticket to the playoff.
The reason I chuckle just a little bit is because early in the season we said Oklahoma would be a tough one. Maybe just a closer game. There's some issues there at the quarterback position, especially with Jackson Arnold and where his future is right now. But Payton, I mean, do you kind of just? I know he got benched. I mean, but do you just consider that a lock?
I would be really shocked if Missouri lost that one at this point, and especially because it's at home. The one thing about it is kind of how you respond after Alabama, whether you win or lose that game. I mean, how you respond is going to be key because that's Oklahoma. I mean, if you win, you can't be too high and overlook Oklahoma and take a loss. If you lose, I mean, whether you lose like by 30 or by 3, you got to be able to kind of pick yourself up off the mat. So that's kind of the more concerning part. But I mean, Jackson Arnold was a mess. He got benched, and now a true freshman is starting for them. Michael Hawkins, who's talented. I mean, he's an Oklahoma quarterback recruit, so there's no doubt talent there. But I'm not too stressed about that game at this point in time. If Missouri gets to that game and still is playing poorly, then it probably will even be a moot point because it wouldn't really have playoff implications. But if Missouri plays how we think they need to play to make the playoff, I think they'll handle Oklahoma just fine.
Block M, though?
Has to be a block M game. I'm an Oval Tiger guy, but that has to be a block M. You got to respect history.
Let's do a quick one right now, though. What are you thinking helmet-wise for the A&M game?
I think we get another Oval Tiger, to be honest. I think you can maybe see a scenario where a block M is taken out here. You know, it's off the bye week. It's like kind of like an emphatic, like, all right, this is Act 2 of the season now. Let's freshen things up. It's an old Big 12 rival. But I think they probably play it safe and go Oval Tiger in this one.
Fair. Yeah, I think it's fair to say, too, it's not like these two teams have played each other, I mean, a good amount since they both entered the SEC. So we don't really have to lean too much into thinking that there will be a block M, but return to Kyle Field. I mean, anything can happen, but we'll talk about that next Thursday. What is Jack's best thing you learned this week?
Best thing Jack learned this week, it looks like Missouri basketball is going to have an exhibition against Division II Lincoln University. Lincoln University, another Tiger in Missouri, in Central Missouri. They actually got announced by Lincoln themselves. Missouri did not say anything about this. Lincoln men's basketball account just tweeted on September 23rd the hourglass emoji, and then the countdown begins Saturday, October 26th. The Lincoln logo and the Missouri logo with and obviously it's the basketball account. So it does appear that we're going to have an exhibition.
Yeah. Is this a home and home exhibition?
Let's hope Missouri is not making the trip down to Lincoln. I don't think we need the optics of Lincoln hosting an SEC school, but yeah, Missouri has not said anything about this to my knowledge, but it does appear that Missouri is going to have a scrimmage against the Blue Tigers.
I don't really have much to say about this. Hopefully, I don't know if it'll be televised or posted
Probably
anywhere, but yeah. So whoever's in attendance, if you can live stream it for us, let us watch. Very exciting to see this team, see what the potential is, because I mean anything can be better than last season, and Benny talked about that with us. So if you want to go back and listen to him again, and we'll have him back on. We'll have Drew back on at some point too to just chat about this stuff. But it's exciting times. Basketball's right around the corner.
Does this remind you at all of the Paul Quinn game? Except the Paul Quinn game actually counted for Mizzou.
Yeah, that was something that came to mind. I was trying to think about recent exhibition games for Mizzou, and that was just, for some reason, that came to mind. It wasn't even an exhibition.
Yeah, no. I mean, it essentially was, but it was an exhibition that counted for Mizzou. I believe, if I remember correctly, it didn't even count for Paul Quinn. So
it was a scouting game for Mizzou basketball.
Yeah, and they struggled for like a half. But Kenny, I have a joke for you.
I thought we could get away with it.
Nope. We can never get away with it. Kenny, what kind of sandals do frogs wear?
Okay. Open-toed.
Yes. Ding, 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 ding.
Oh my
you got
gosh.
It. Open-toed. They wear open-toed shoes, Kenny.
I've been good recently. I think people should take notice. I've been good with these jokes.
You guys have been catching on. It's almost like you're looking at my list that comes from our favorite TV series, The Today Show.
Did you see Hoda is leaving the Today Show?
You're lying.
I'm not. I learned that this morning. Hoda is leaving the Today Show to spend more time with her family.
No, she is. When is she leaving?
I don't know. I just heard that this morning. I thought you would know. You're the big Today Show fan.
No, I just love the jokes.
I was actually on the Today Show. This part of my face was. Like
yeah,
this.
that's right. I remember that. You made a cameo. Early next year. Wow.
Yeah.
Early next year, Hoda is out.
She'll have a countdown. We'll make sure to let everyone know. Maybe the jokes will end then as well, because
they won't.
The joke writer.
We'll keep it going.
On that note, search Al Roker White House whenever you have a chance. But this has been the Unwritten Rule. Thank you to Benny for joining us again. Of course, we dropped some of his links in the description if you want to go check him out. Of course, always check him out. Support a former Mizzou Tiger. He's a good guy, and he pulls back the curtain. He talks to a lot of important people, a lot of athletes that people are interested in learning more about. So give him a listen, give him a watch, give him a subscribe, do all that kind of stuff. But this has been the Unwritten Rule. Everyone have a good bye weekend, and we'll see you on Monday.